All right, let's tackle a huge question for anyone looking to buy a home in South Africa. Is it better to pay with cash, or should you get a mortgage? Now, the answer that feels right, the one we've all been taught, might not actually be the smartest move. Let's get into it.
So what sparked this whole conversation? Well, it comes from a real-life dilemma posted on Reddit. We've got a 31-year-old earning a great salary, totally debt-free, and with this incredible goal of retiring by 40. He's run the numbers himself and is completely stumped. He just can't make the math for a mortgage make sense. His question is the perfect launchpad for this entire discussion.
You know, for as long as I can remember, buying a home with cash has been held up as the absolute pinnacle of financial success. It's the South African dream, isn't it? To own your home, free and clear, with no bank breathing down your neck. It's just baked into our thinking.
And it's not just a gut feeling. It's a mantra we hear over and over again. You know the one. Cash is king. Credit is bad. Pay off your debts. Don't even think about taking out new loans. So, naturally, when you've got a pile of cash big enough for a house, spending it seems like the most responsible, financially savvy thing you could possibly do.
I mean, look, on the surface, the choice seems blindingly obvious. You buy with cash, you have 0 monthly bond payments, and you save an absolute fortune in interest over the years. You get a mortgage, and you're staring down the barrel of decades of payments, plus all those extra fees. At first glance, cash looks like a total no-brainer. But this is where the story takes a turn. Let's pull back the curtain a little bit, because while paying with cash absolutely saves you from debt, it has its own hidden price tag. And these costs, they aren't measured in interest payments, but in something far more valuable: lost potential.
The first hidden cost is something called a lack of liquidity. Basically, when you sink every last round into your property, that money is now locked up tight. A house is what we call an illiquid asset. You can't just turn it back into cash overnight. So if a real emergency hits or an incredible business opportunity pops up, you can't access that money. Selling a house takes time, sometimes months.
And that brings us to the second, and arguably much bigger cost: opportunity cost. See, every single financial decision is a trade-off. By choosing one path, you give up the potential benefits of another. So you have to ask yourself, what else could that huge pile of cash be doing for me? If it wasn't locked away in the bricks and mortar of my house, could it be out there working for me, making even more money?
Okay, enough theory. Let's put some real numbers to this. Check this out. For a 320,000 Rand property, an investor who used a mortgage only had to put down about 36,000 Rand of their own money. That was for the bond and transfer costs. That's it. That's their total skin in the game.
And here's the kicker. By investing just that 36 grand, that investor got an annual return on their investment, an ROI, of 30%. 30. How? Because the return is calculated on the small amount of cash they actually put in, not the full price of the house.
Okay, so now let's look at the cash buyer for that exact same property. To buy it outright, they need the 320,000 Rand purchase price, plus around 23,000 in transfer costs. That's a grand total of 343,000 Rand of their own money out the door.
And here it is. This is the aha moment. Even though the cash buyer has more money in their pocket each month because they don't have a bond payment, the return on that massive 343,000 Rand investment plummets to just 14%. That is less than half the return of the person who used the bank's money. It's a clear illustration of how using your own cash can actually be a much less efficient way to grow your wealth.
This all brings us to the big idea that flips that whole debt is bad idea completely on its head. Because when you use it smartly, a mortgage isn't just a loan to buy a house. It's one of the most powerful wealth-building tools you can get your hands on.
The secret sauce is leverage. It's a fancy word for a simple idea: using other people's money, in this case the bank's, to control a much larger asset. With just a small deposit, the bank fronts the rest, and you get to benefit from the rental income and the price growth of the entire property, not just a little slice you actually paid for. So how does this actually build wealth? Well, imagine you've saved up 350,000 Rand. Option 1, you buy one property for cash. Done. Or option 2, you could use that same 350 grand as deposits to get mortgages on 5, maybe even 10 different properties. All of a sudden, instead of just one asset, you control a whole portfolio of assets, all of them growing in value, all of them bringing in rental income. That is how investors build empires. So what this really requires is a fundamental shift in your mindset. Buying property is one of the biggest financial moves you'll ever make. It really pays to stop thinking just like someone buying a home and start thinking like a strategic investor.
An investor mindset also completely changes how you look at the taxman.
You see, for an investment property, the interest you pay on your bond is a tax-deductible expense. This actually lowers your taxable income, which means size is, in effect, helping you pay for your investment. That's a huge benefit that cash buyers just don't get.
Thinking like an investor also means you start thinking about protection. I mean, it's not just about making wealth, it's about keeping it, right? One of the keys is to protect what you built. By putting your properties into the right legal structures, like a trust, you can actually shield them from personal creditors and make sure your assets are safe for your family down the line.
Let's just quickly break down the options here. If you own a property in your personal name, it's exposed. It's at risk if you get sued, and it's taxed at your personal income tax rate. Now, a trust offers fantastic asset protection, but it has a high, flat tax rate of 45%. A company, on the other hand, has a much lower tax rate of 27%. This is why so many savvy investors use a hybrid approach. They have a company that holds the property, and that company is owned by a trust. You get the best of both worlds, strong asset protection and better tax efficiency.
So after all of that, what's the right answer for you? Well, the truth is, there isn't one single right answer. That cash is king idea, it's not wrong, it's just incomplete. The best choice for you depends entirely on your personal goals and your overall financial strategy.
So before you make any move, you've got to ask yourself some serious questions. How does this purchase fit into your big, long-term plan? Are you going to have enough cash left over for emergencies? Is this really the absolute best place for your money to be working for you? And honestly, what's your personal comfort level with risk? The answers will point you in the right direction.
Ultimately, what this all boils down to is a much deeper question. It's not just cash or mortgage. The real question is this: are you just buying a place to live, or are you trying to build your wealth? If all you want is a roof over your head and peace of mind, cash can be a wonderful thing. But if your goal is true financial freedom, like that Redditor aiming to retire at 40, you have to ask if that cash could be the seed capital for building a much, much bigger empire. The choice isn't just about how you pay, it's about what you're trying to build.